Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 7th, 2018.
The Kuhner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services, cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
Should Jean-Francois Kerry, should former Secretary of State John Kerry now be tried for treason? That is the question many, and I mean many, are now asking after the shocking story published in this weekend's Boston Globe. Okay, I got a jam-packed show for you today, my friends, but first, without question, Kerry in clear violation of the Logan Act. It has now been revealed former Secretary of State Jean-Francois, a.k.a. Pepe Le Pew, Jean Kerry, actually met, listen to this, according to the Globe, was engaged in quote-unquote shadow diplomacy. Meaning, as the Globe reported, over the last several months, John Kerry, acting as his own, as a private citizen, remember, he's no longer in government, he's no longer tied to the State Department, he has no formal government role whatsoever, privately met with Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mohammad Javad Zarif. And in those meetings at the UN, in New York, in clandestine areas across North America and in Europe, John Kerry has been doing everything in his power to try to salvage the Iran nuclear deal. As Kerry himself, according to his aides, in the Boston Globe piece openly admitted, the Iran deal is his signature accomplishment. It is the crown jewel of his foreign policy and that of Obama in his second term. And so, saying that he does not want Trump to pull out of the deal, doing everything in his power to try to scuttle Trump's attempts to either renegotiate the deal or pull out of the deal. He is openly sabotaging the president's foreign policy. By his supporters' own admission, this is not Jeff Kuhner saying this, these are people around John Kerry. He wants to preserve the nuclear deal. He wants Trump's foreign policy initiative to rip it apart, to fail, and he is doing everything possible to subvert, undermine, and obstruct President Trump's foreign policy vis-a-vis Iran. In those meetings, John Kerry told the Iranian foreign minister, Zarif, that he gave him talking points to defend the deal, told the Iranian foreign minister, Mohammad Zarif, that he would do everything in his power to help preserve the deal. In fact, colluding with the Iranians. The article revealed, and Kerry is open about this, that Jean-Francois has been lobbying French President Emmanuel Macron. He has, in fact, met with Macron on behalf of the Iranian government multiple times. According to the Globe, I swear to you, they spoke in both... Sorry, I can't help but laugh. He's such a buffoon. In both, quote, French and in English. So Jean-Francois wanted us to know that when he speaks with the president of France, they don't need a translator. He speaks in both English and en français, in French. Not only has he been meeting with Macron, he has met with the president of Germany, not the chancellor, not Merkel, but the president of Germany and the European Union's top foreign policy official. He says his goal is to galvanize opposition to Trump, to preserve the deal, and to undermine every effort by Trump to either renegotiate it or pull it out. Now, a couple of points, and then I want to throw it open to you. 617-266-6868 is the number. How is this, number one, not treason? How is this, number two, not collusion? Here you have the Democratic Party claiming, listen to this, that Trump has been secretly colluding with the Russians, that they allege that if there were any meetings between Trump or his campaign officials with any member of the Russian government, this is ipso facto collusion and hence a crime, and he should be impeached. How is this not open collusion with a sworn enemy of the United States? An enemy of the United States on record that has called America the Great Satan. That since it took power when it overthrew the Shah, the Islamic Republic, in 1979, has stated that they have declared war upon the United States. So this is not just a rabidly anti-Semitic regime. It is not just a rabidly anti-Western and anti-American regime, but it is a regime that since its inception, this Islamo-Nazi state has said is in a state of war with the United States. And he's meeting with them in private? He's meeting with them, working with them to try to undermine and subvert the foreign policy of our own president? To help keep them on the path to the nuclear bomb and becoming a nuclear power? How is this not collusion? By the left's own argument. This is Exhibit A in collusion. And I'm not talking about Vladimir Putin's Russia. I'm talking about a regime that is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. This is beyond dispute. A regime that armed, trained, and supplied Shiite militias in Iraq that murdered and blew up and killed thousands of American soldiers in Iraq. They have American blood on their hands. And you're meeting with their foreign minister in collusion against us and against our president and his foreign policy? And then point number 2. Michael Flynn. If Michael Flynn was investigated because of alleged violations of the Logan Act. And for those of you that don't know the Logan Act is a very obscure law. It goes back centuries, which essentially says it is a crime for a private citizen to be negotiating on behalf of the American government or against the interests of the American government with a foreign power. And so when Michael Flynn did what any other incoming national security advisor has done, going back decades and decades and decades, said, look, I'm going to be now President Trump is one. We're the incoming administration. I'm the incoming national security advisor. Let me feel out. He met with the Chinese. He met with the Saudis. He met with the Europeans, and he met with the Russians. Robert Mueller and the FBI claimed that this was in violation of the Logan Act when he met and had a discussion with the Russian ambassador to the United States, Kislyak, the drunk. He's actually a drunk, but let that go. So he sat there with the drunk, having a conversation, and they said, ooh, you're still a private citizen. We know you're the national security advisor-elect. We know you're coming in. And we know it's been done under Obama and Bush and Clinton and Reagan and Ford and Nixon and Kennedy and Eisenhower. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They said that was the basis to investigate you in technical violation of the Logan Act because you still weren't sworn in as national security advisor. And that's when they claimed that he made false statements to the FBI. By the way, according to the House Intelligence Committee, the agents who actually interviewed Michael Flynn on the record told Robert Mueller they don't believe he actually even lied to them. So the FBI agents who interviewed Flynn said, we don't think he lied. It doesn't matter. Flynn has now charged him with lying, and now Flynn basically is going to lose his home, and his career is in tatters. But let that go. If you can prosecute Michael Flynn for alleged violations of the Logan Act, how the hell can you not prosecute Jean-Francois Kerry? I mean, I'm sorry, but the logic is so clear and simple and inexorable. If Michael Flynn was not allowed to have even a phone call, a telephone conversation with the ambassador from Russia to the United States, how the hell can Jean-Francois Kerry meet, I'm not talking about some drunken, dinky ambassador, to the foreign minister of Iran, sit down with him face to face, and plot and plan and scheme on how to preserve the nuclear deal against the stated foreign policy of President Trump and the American government? If Michael Flynn was charged with violations of the Logan Act or investigated on the basis of violating the Logan Act, then how can you not investigate and charge Jean-Francois Kerry? Jean-Francois has to be indicted by violations of the Logan Act. And to me, the deeper point is this, and if nobody else has the guts to say it, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Kerry is a traitor. What he did was treason. He is aiding and abetting a mortal enemy of the United States, a hostile regime against the United States. He is doing it in the dark, behind the back of the President of the United States. And this is something that, frankly, Jean-Francois has done throughout his entire career. This is a man who was not only wrong on every major foreign policy issue since the early 1970s, but a man who has openly collaborated and colluded with the enemies of the United States. This is the man that sided with the Soviet Union and communism against America. This is the man who, when he started his career, came back from Vietnam and slandered his fellow soldiers and people who were fighting alongside him in Vietnam. This is the man who met with the Viet Cong, our enemy, who were killing Americans, and said he wanted to work with them to eventually get the Americans out of Vietnam and give the communists what they wanted, victory. And then he went to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and in an act of unbelievable propaganda, a propaganda coup for the communists, the anti-war movement, and the Viet Cong, libeled and slandered our troops, saying that we had committed all kinds of heinous atrocities in Vietnam, unlike what we had seen since it's Genghis, but let that go, since Genghis Khan. Remember Kerry in 1971? They were all lies. Almost all of that didn't happen, or if it did happen, it was incredibly isolated incidents. And notice, I don't want to relive the past, but he said crimes not seen since it's Genghis, but anyway, Genghis Khan. That means that Americans in Vietnam, according to Kerry, committed crimes greater than Hitler, greater than Stalin, greater than Napoleon, greater than, I could go through all the butchers that had existed, greater than Mao, that for the previous 100 or 150 years. He libeled every single soldier who fought and died in Vietnam. He started his career with treason, and now his career culminates in treason. And so my question now to you is this, my friends. It is the Kelly Financial Services poll question of the day. Should Jean-Francois Kerry be charged with treason? If you believe the answer is yes, A, no, B, no, you can go to my Twitter page and vote at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner, or you can go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. Should Kerry be charged with treason for having secret meetings to undermine Trump's foreign policy with the foreign minister of Iran? I say he needs to go to jail. Lock him up. Agree? Disagree? Your calls. Next. 1226 here on the great WRKO. Okay, Boston Globe front page story. former Secretary of State John Kerry, i.e. Pepe Le Pew, Jean-Francois, met now over at least several times over the last several months with the current foreign minister of Iran to try to scuttle Trump's foreign policy, undermine it, subvert it, so that the nuclear deal will remain preserved. Is this a violation of the Logan Act? Is this treason? And now, should Kerry be facing charges? I want to hear from you. Lines are loaded. Peter on the Pike, you're up first. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Jeff.
Hey, Peter.
4 hours ago on KSFO, Barry Sussman opened up his program with an article in the Washington Times by a guy named Hurt, saying the headline was, Kerry should go to jail. I know you have access to the Times. Have you seen it? Look it up. Put it on your blog page or whatever. I haven't had a chance to look it up because I've been on the road. But he mentioned it this morning about 4 hours ago. Peter,
do you agree? Do you think Kerry should go to jail?
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes. Hell yes. I've hated the son of a gun since 71 when he came and besmirched all us vets that came back from Nam. So he's not my favorite. He's a POS. And he did the same thing. Kennedy did the same thing talking to the Russians. They all are no good. And they all come from Massachusetts. And that bothers the hell out of me. I don't know.
Thank you very much, Peter. I'm with you. Look, he's a fifth columnist. And I think he wants to, save his signature achievement because he's that vain. He's that arrogant. He's that full of hubris. He knows if Trump pulls out, that's it. What has he accomplished in 4 years as Secretary of State? All he has to show for it is the Iran deal. So honestly, I think part of it is ego. And I think the other part of it is he's a traitor. I played the clip from 1971. He lied then. He slandered our troops then. He was colluding with the enemy then. And now he's colluding with the enemy now. The only difference is then it was the communists. Now it's the Islamists. Bob in Newton, you're up next. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi. By the way, I'm the guy who gave the Jesus speech at the Christmas dinner a few years ago that we talked about.
Good. God bless you, Bob.
Couple of quick points about this. Most secretaries of state keep their top security clearances once they leave office. If he has it, cancel it immediately. Number two, if he received money, if the Iranians or Palestinians even paid for his lunch or his taxi, charge him with failing to register as a foreign agent. Lock him up for that. And then flip him like a hamburger. Lesser sentence if he rats out Obama and Lynch and Holder and the rest of them.
Bob, do you think he violated the Logan Act? Was his dealings with a hostile, mortal enemy of the United States to undermine our foreign policy? Isn't that what the Logan Act was expressly designed to prevent?
Absolutely true. But I don't think there's ever been a prosecution of it, and it gets into all sorts of issues. Easier to get him probably as failure to register as a foreign agent.
Bob, as always, very good call. Very good call. 617-266-6868. Okay, my friends, bombshell. Now, what I find incredible is, if you read the Boston Globe piece, they're actually sympathetic to Kerry. They're actually quoting people, I swear to you, so-called liberal policy experts saying, oh, it shows he still has unflagging energy and he's still engaged on the issues. And I'm thinking, his party lost. He's no longer part of government. He has no business doing this. My friends, this is liberal treason of the highest order. And I'm telling President Trump, if you don't move on this, Mr. President, what are you waiting for? They're actively colluding with the Ayatollahs against you. How much more evidence do you need? 617-266-6868. Okay, we'll continue to take your calls, I promise. Several primaries are being held this week ahead of November's midterm elections. Evan Heidenrich is in the WRKO newsroom. He has all of those details. Take it away, Evan.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
12:37 here on the great WRKO. Okay, it broke over the weekend. Boston Globe, in a front-page story, admitted, in fact, they cheered it on, that Jean-François John Kerry actually now, while he's out of power as a private citizen, met not once, but at least twice with the Iran's Minister of Foreign Affairs to help Iran, colluding with them to try to subvert Trump's foreign policy, prevent him from either renegotiating the Iran nuclear deal or pulling out altogether. So he has been meeting with the Iranians in secret, helping them craft a strategy. Also on their behalf, he has lobbied French President Macron, Germany's president, the European Union foreign policy chief, among many others, to do everything in their power, everything possible to preserve the Iran nuclear deal and to undercut Trump's strategy and policy. Is this treason? The Kelly Financial Poll question of the day. Should John Kerry be charged with treason? Frankly, I say yes. If you believe yes, A. If you believe no, B. You can vote on my Twitter page at the Kuhner Report, Kuhner, or go to WRKO.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. President Trump recently tweeted on this bombshell story, on this breaking story. Here's what he tweeted, quote, "The United States does not need John Kerry's possibly illegal shadow diplomacy on the very badly negotiated Iran deal. He was the one that created this mess, all in caps, in the first place." 2 quick points, and then I want to dive back into the phone lines. What this tweet shows is that Trump obviously completely blindsided by this. He has no idea that Kerry was negotiating behind his back in furtherance of the interests in collusion with our mortal enemies, the Iranian Ayatollahs. Okay? The ones who took all of our hostages, the ones who have murdered our diplomats abroad, the ones who helped sponsor Hezbollah and Shiite militias that bombed our barracks and killed 240 troops in Beirut, the ones who have been arming and supplying Shiite militias in Iraq, who are responsible for the murder and maiming of thousands of Americans. Kerry siding with them against our own government. And then the second obvious point is the Iran deal is a disaster. It gave the Ayatollahs $100 billion in money and $1.8 billion in cash, and gave them the path to becoming a nuclear power. It sold America down the river. And now this SOB, after empowering the mullahs, and potentially now leading to World War III in the Middle East, with maybe the worst deal ever made since Munich. Now this guy's working behind the scenes with those very same mullahs against our president, our government, our interests. Lock him up. The sooner, the better. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. David in New Hampshire, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, or good afternoon.
Hi.
2 things, very quickly.
Yes.
Number one, with regard to Kerry specifically, my personal opinion is he is long overdue for a short drop and a sudden stop. And regarding the left in general, one will not lose money by assuming the Democrats will take the side of America's enemies against America. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that call, David. Keith in Newburyport, you're up next. Go ahead, Keith.
Hi, Jeff. Kerry has no need to fear of any prosecution. Globalists do not recognize borders. Globalists do not recognize national identity. Globalists do not recognize national law. Now, Kerry has the backing of the richest, most powerful people in the world, that being the global corporations and the global bankers. Wall Street Journal had an article about the time when Obama was trying to open up the doors to Iran, said the global corporations, the global bankers have been beating down the doors to get into Iran, and they got their way. Now, Kerry has no need to fear with that kind of support. Zero.
Keith, I agree with you 1,000%. Let me ask you, and I want to ask all of you this question. Let's just flip it, just for the sake of argument. Barack Obama is now the new president of the United States. Let's go back 8 years. Okay, 9 years. 2009, 2010. He wants to renegotiate our deal in Iraq or pull all U.S. forces out, whatever. And it turns out that, say, Condoleezza Rice is conducting, quote-unquote, shadow diplomacy. And she's meeting with senior Iraqi officials. And she's trying to cut a deal against the interests of Obama, against the interests of his administration, and she's lobbying every other European power to try to go against Obama. Can you imagine what the reaction from the media and the left would have been, Keith?
That wouldn't happen unless she had the CFR backing. And Kerry has that backing. And
sorry, when you say CFR, you mean Council on Foreign Relations, right?
Right. These people are the most powerful people in the world, by the way. But anyway, my other point was when you have that backing, the State Department is not going to jump on you. And also, one point I just remembered I want to say, the State Department is a government unto itself. It does not even represent the United States. Look at what happened with when we took out Gaddafi, the State Department's idea, and the Congress is not even involved.
Dead on. Keith, dead on. Thank you for that call. Look, I don't want to get into the State Department. It's an important issue, but I want to stick to Kerry for a second. But very quickly, who signed off on NAFTA? It was the State Department. Who signed off on free trade with China? It was the State Department. Who signed off on the illegal war in Libya? It was the State Department. Who signed, you name it. Who signed off on the Arab Spring? It was the State Department. You name every war or every lousy free trade deal that has hurt the interests of the United States, the State Department is there to advocate on behalf of either the globalists or of the interests of other countries. They're not there to advocate on behalf of us. Okay, to be honest with you. But what I find incredible is the hypocrisy of the whole thing. In their desperation now to undermine and obstruct Trump, this Trump derangement syndrome, the Globe is praising Kerry. They didn't break this story as in, shadow diplomacy, i.e., he could be in serious trouble. No, they wrote the piece like he's a hero. He's standing against the wind. He's standing up against Trump. Like Neville Chamberlain, he's fighting to give us peace in our time. That to me is the part, when you read the piece, you're like, are you kidding me? How is this not out and out treason? And whatever you think, especially with the context of Trump-Russia collusion, how is this not collusion with Iran? It's naked collusion. It's open collusion. And how is it not a violation of the Logan Act, which is what they investigated Michael Flynn for? So all Trump has to do is say is this, look, whatever you think objectively is the case, if Mike Flynn has to go down because of so-called violations of the Logan Act, I want Kerry to go down and be investigated for violations of the Logan Act. If you're persecuting me over so-called collusion, you got to go after him for collusion. Honestly, to me, the case is simple. What you do to Trump, you have to now do to yourself. I'm sorry, you set the rules. To the left, you guys started this, now you have to finish it. 617-266-6868. Thaddeus in Chelsea. You're up next. Go ahead, Thaddeus.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I just want to make a comment on the politicians like John Kerry and Hillary Clinton, for example.
Yes.
They are collaborators with the enemy. Treason, yes, this is treason. And on the other hand, you have pro-American allies, for instance, like Poland, that gets put on a back burner when it comes to visa waiver, even. Simple thing like that. They don't even get, and others that are anti-American countries, no problem. I just want to make that comment, because it is treason, as far as this goes, this Iranian deal goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thaddeus. I appreciate it. Let's go to Ed in Boston. Ed, you're up next. Thanks for holding, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi.
It's good to hear from you, and you're doing a great job today.
Thank you, Ed.
I'd like to bring up 2 points. First point, where's Elmer Fudd right now in this particular situation? Nowhere to be heard.
I mean, where is he on everything, Ed?
I agree. Now, this is, he should be on this because the guy's doing nothing. But here's the bigger point. John Kerry, this guy, all you have to do is look at his MO his whole life. This guy's been chasing money. The guy's a gigolo. That cash that was flown over there I guarantee you it ended up in a Swiss bank account someplace in his name or an alias to his family. And I also guarantee you that Obama's got a stash, as they would say, from that deal. I think this is a very stupid move for a very greedy person because he's going to end up getting bit in the rear end if there was justice.
I agree with you, Ed. I agree with you 1,000%. And thank you for that call. Look, where's Jeff Sessions? Where's Sleepy Sessions? Where's the Attorney General? Again, I mean, I can almost do this every day on the show. Where's Jeff Sessions? Where's Jeff Sessions? So where's Sleepyhead? I don't know. I don't know where Sessions is. Again, on this one. But you touched on something very profound, Ed. Not only in that deal did we give the Iranians $100 billion. As I said, almost $2 billion, $1.8 billion cash. Now, nobody to this day has told us, where did you get all that cash? I mean, really, where did you get $1.8 billion just lying around? That to me is point number one. Like, you know, how do you get $1.8 billion, not million, billion dollars? And then you fly it in? You can't trace cash. It's not like a wire transfer or something. And I believe that when you're dealing with that kind of money, those kinds of kickbacks, that kind of bribery, I know that Kerry must have put some of it in his pocket. There's no other way. There's no other explanation. Unless he's literally the stupidest man on the planet. For you to have cut that deal, which gave the mullahs everything, which gave us nothing, which gives them the path to the bomb. It guarantees them the path. It guarantees them the bomb in 7 years. Plus puts $100 billion in their pocket. Plus gives them $1.8 billion in cash. Non-traceable. So they can obviously fund Hezbollah, Hamas, other terrorist groups. You can't trace the money. And you leave out their ballistic missile program. You say nothing about their vows to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. It's not even tied to them killing Americans in Iraq, saying, you know what, you got to stop sponsoring these terrorist activities against Americans. It gave us nothing. It gave our soldiers nothing. It gave our military nothing. And it gave the mullahs everything. That he didn't at least pocket some of that money, I don't believe it. I know he's stupid, but he's not that stupid. He's on the take. He's a classic swamp creature. And that's why I'm urging the president, wake up the Attorney General, knock, knock, hello, hello, get out of bed and start doing your job. Charge Kerry with treason. In French. If he prefers it in French, say in French, Jean-Francois, you're going to prison.
WRKO.
Freddie and Beverly, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. Long-time caller, first-time listener.
Welcome, Freddie. Welcome.
Yes, Jean-Francois Kerry, as the French say, is a traitor. And I just want to mention a few things about him, why we know he's a traitor. First of all, he is, as you said, a fifth columnist. He is a globalist. He belongs to a secret society, Skull and Bones. him and Bush, when they both ran against each other, were both Skull and Bone members. If you remember, one time a person tried to bring this up at a public speech, and Kerry immediately had the guy removed. He was tased. He's the one that yelled, "Don't tase me, bro." He didn't want it talked about. Their first oath is to these secret societies. It's not to this country. It's to these societies. And I just wanted to mention, like, for instance, that Bush, all three generations of Bushes belong to the Skull and Bones. And Prescott Bush, he belonged to companies who helped fund the German war effort during World War II.
Thank you. Thank you for that call, Freddie. Oh, look, there's no question about it. There is a globalist corporate elite that operates at the highest levels, that not just here in the United States, across Europe, across many countries, and Jean-Francois likes to be part of the club. Now, he's a low-level part of the club. He had to marry into his money, so that's why he married Teresa Heinz. And while he was Secretary of State, he likes to make even more money. So he's basically, he's a political whore who went into office to line his own pockets and gave us the worst deal of our lifetime. He started off as a traitor. He smeared and slandered our troops in Vietnam. He met with the Viet Cong. He did everything he could to undermine our war effort in that country. And now we go full circle, and now he's shilling for the mullahs. And that's why he's meeting with them in private to undercut our President of the United States. And the fact that not just that he's gotten away with it, but that he's made God knows how much money off of it, and is celebrated and lionized by the liberals and the left, tells you everything you need to know. Patriotism, they hate. Fifth columnism, they love. That's the left in a nutshell. Pat in Londonderry, I've got about a minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Oh, hi, Jeff.
Hi.
You know what? I get in the mail, email, polls. Do you want to secure the border? Do you want Lois Lerner to go to jail? Do you want us to uphold our laws? And yes, I do. I don't understand why people of the Democratic Party do not go to jail. We are now legitimately a lawless society, but if I do something or if you do something, you will go to jail. I do not understand the invisible barrier some of these people have to our laws.
It's the swamp. It's the Washington establishment. And honestly, that's why we sent Trump to Washington to smash it up. And instead of him beating the swamp is trying to swallow him. A lot more next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WZLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.